Hey, sports fans. Thank you for watching this video. I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible. But what I'm going to show you is probably my favorite extension for Animate ever. Seriously. So Flanimate Powertools. Okay. It has actually made my time inside of Animate so much fun because I'm constantly learning more and more about how deep this extension actually is, but also just how powerful it is, and how just it lets you do things that I think we've all, as animators using Flash and now Animate, have always wanted. And Nick and Vlad have given us this. They're the developers of the extension. And by the way, Nick, if you're watching, thank you for always being there, always responsive to my emails and inquiries. And anytime I've had any kind of question, you've been there, you've answered the call, and that goes a long way with me. So that said, I want to try to make this video as quick as possible based on my current knowledge of how this amazing extension works. First of all, I highly recommend visiting the website. The website is flashpowertools.com. There's a link to it in the description below. And please feel free to ask any questions in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. But the website is just obviously where you go to download this extension, but it's just chock full of amazing tutorials, video tutorials, articles. There's a whole page dedicated to Nick and Vlad and who they are and why they're developing this extension. By the way, it's this 10 years in the making, this extension. So you can learn about the tools, how to install them, everything. And but hopefully this video will help as well. So based on, like I said, my knowledge thus far, I've been using it for a few months now. I think I've got a pretty good handle on it. And again, I'm always finding some cool new way that just pushes the boundaries of character rigging in Animate because of this extension. All right, so what I'm going to do is create a couple of very simple example rigs, and then show you a current rig like you're looking at right here, this bunny boy character. And then I'm going to show you probably what I would refer to as a more advanced rig that I've been creating for work. But I'll get to that later. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So having said that, we're inside of Animate. By the way, I have the extension already installed, version 6.5. And so I'm not going to go through the installation. It's very simple, but I don't want to make this video any longer than it needs to be. I would just want to do a very quick and simple video tutorial about how to use this extension. Because there's a lot to know, but I want to break it down and be as simple as possible. So I'm just going to create a new document, character animation, 1920 by 1080, frame rate 30. This is all good. Just hit create. Now, after you install the extension, right, what you need to do is go to Window and then Extensions and make sure the SMR Helpers panel is open. SMR is an acronym, stands for Smart Magnet Rig. And that's this panel here along the left side. You can dock it anywhere. You can dock it across the top, across the bottom, whatever you want to do. I like it over here. This needs to be open. Also, the other thing you want to do is in the tool panel, click the three dots down here at the bottom. I've already done this, but you'll see two other tools that come with the extension. One is the Kineflex or SMR tool, and then the other one is the Freestyle Rigging tool. Just click and drag these to your toolbar. I even dragged a spacer to categorize them, give them their own little section in there. So it's just a little easier to find. All right, just group them together. All right, that's it. I'm going to create a really basic rig. I have a fill color, no stroke. That's fine. Object drawings on. Okay, fine. I'm going to create a little body here. And while I'm at it, let's convert it to a symbol and just leave it as symbol 1. I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. I am going to change the registration point to down here at the very bottom. Okay. And so now you'll see that if I blow this up a little bit, I have a symbol here. The registration point is down here. The center point is still up here. I'm going to double click or inside the symbol. Here's the registration point. Boom. I'm going to hit Q on my keyboard, which is the free transform tool. It gives me the center point here. This is how everything's going to rotate, but I don't want that because that's not anatomically correct, right? So double click the white dot, we'll snap it to the registration point. That's what I want. If this is the torso, I want it to basically hinge down towards the pelvis, let's say. All right. That said, I'm not going to create additional symbols. I am going to do is hold down the Option key, which I'm on a Mac, and I am going to create an arm from the body symbol. Free transform. Let's scale this down a little bit. Hold down Shift. I'm going to rotate it, and that's going to be the bicep. Hold down Option. Let's duplicate it again. Forearm. Okay. Hold down, I'm going to select both of these. Hold down Option again, and then create a duplicate of the arm, transform, horizontal. And so now we have the arm there. Actually, let's give this simple rig a hand. And again, let's actually convert this to a symbol. And I'm going to create a registration point here at the wrist. There. And like we did with the arm, free transform tool, double click this white center point symbol. So now the hand will hinge where we want it. Perfect. Holding down Option, going to duplicate it, transform, flip that thing horizontally. Now let's also hold down Option one more time, and let's make this the head as well. Scale it up, rotate it. And all right, so I'm not going to do legs, not going to bother. Again, I want to keep this pretty simple. Now, since everything is hinged correctly, right? We can see all our center points, blah, 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 blah. Good, select everything. Now, what we want to do is in the SMR, help. Oh, you know what? One thing I actually almost forgot that's important. Animate, keyboard shortcuts, okay? Your default is here. Right? You can select from this drop down. If you've duplicated your keyboard shortcuts, I have my own set of custom shortcuts, but you'll notice that there's now a new set of shortcuts specific to the EDAPT extension from Flash Powertools. I highly recommend, you don't have to, but I highly recommend selecting this as your new shortcuts, okay? And hit OK. Now, a lot of the shortcuts that you're probably very used to are now changed. Some of them, not all of them. But we'll tackle that as we go along. It's one of those things where that's the biggest hurdle is getting used to some of your more habitual shortcut keys. Okay, so that said, I'm going to go to select every symbol in the rig, go to the SMR Helpers panel, and go down to this button here. It says Make Adaptable. Just click it. Now, this opened up another panel, a little pop-up window, but it's on another monitor, so let me drag that over. All right, so now basically I just leave this at the default, but it's basically saying choose how to match transformation and registration points so that you can create a smart magnet rig. The default is re-register symbols based on current position of transformation points to make them adaptable. Hit OK. Boom. Now you'll see in the output panel, if you have it open. If you don't, it'll open up. I have it docked alongside my timeline here in this panel. It tells me, it gives me real-time feedback, which is great. Make adaptable. 8 elements have been affected, which are all these elements here. So what this has done is basically prepared us to actually rig our character. Now in the toolbar panel, what you want to find is the Freestyle Rigging tool, which is this one here. And now all we have to do, let's make this a little bigger, is start rigging by clicking and dragging. I'm going to start at the torso or the root of our armature. I'm going to click and drag, and let's go up to the head. And you'll see, again, real-time feedback. You'll see an arrow or a line with several little arrows pointing me in the direction I'm going. And once I hover over a symbol, you'll see that it has a green bounding box around it. I can just release. Now that torso and the head are now linked. Now I'm going to go back to the torso and let's rig the arms. And going from this arm or the bicep to the forearm, and then the forearm to the hand. Back to the torso, let's rig the other arm to the bicep, to the forearm, to the hand. Now, select this tool, which is the Kineflex SMR tool, or G on your keyboard. And now we can literally click and drag the root bone, and you'll see the rig come to life. It's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. It's pretty easy, right? And now if we go to the timeline, let's actually select everything. I'm going to right click, distribute to layers. Okay. And here you'll see we have our rig, and we can actually go and create additional keyframes, pose him in different ways, apply a classic tween, maybe even some easing real quick, and we are on our way to animating. Again, pretty simple rig, okay, but you get the idea. All right, I want to do one more quick example, a really simple one, okay? So again, new character animation, 1920 by 1080. Perfect. Let's go up here. I'm going to just say fit in window. This time I'm going to grab the rectangle primitive tool, and we do not need a stroke. Fill color, I like that. And let's just create a body shape like this. And select it, go to convert to symbol. I'm going to set the registration point down here. And free transform tool, double click the center point dot. So now it'll hinge where I want it to. Perfect. Grab the primitive rectangle tool again. Let's create legs. All right, there we go. There's one leg. Modify, convert to symbol. Again, registration point works for me in this position here, bottom center. And same thing, double click the center point. And actually what we want to do is, I did that kind of wrong. Let's do this. Let's change it because I want this to hinge where it connects to the body. Perfect. So now when we place this at the body, hit free transform tool again, it'll rotate where we want it to. Now all we need to do is just, I'm going to hold down shift and the option key and duplicate it, overlap it. I'm kind of just eyeballing this. Let's just do a quick little test. A little bit off here. Let's convert to outlines. We can see it a little better. Let me change this outline color to something that will show up a little bit better here on computers. So let's change it to blue. All right, see that? See how it's more oval? Let's just bring that down so it's roughly a perfect circle. There we go. Now I do believe my registration is off a little bit because I eyeballed it. That looks a little bit low. That looks a little better. Yeah, this will work better. Let's go back. Yep, okay. I like this. This should work. So if we rotate this, it'll remain a circle. That means no gaps will show up in between these joints, okay? Perfect. So that's a pretty good leg. So holding down shift and option, I'm going to click and drag. It's going to duplicate it. Let's do that one more time and then one more time again. Now these two middle legs are going to be the back legs. So I'm going to select them, hold down command, and the down arrow is going to push them to the back or arrange them to the back. And I'm also going to move them up a little bit. And while they're selected, go to the properties panel and the color effects section. We're going to go to brightness and play around with the darkness of that. So just to push them back further. And we can always adjust their position, but I think that's pretty good. While we're at it now, let's actually just create a whole new neck. Something a little bit thicker than the legs. Yeah, something like that. Modify and convert to symbol. Double click it. I want to move this down a little bit more. So that's roughly in the center of an invisible circle. Normally I would create circles, but I'll show you that later. I'm just doing this quick and dirty as I've already mentioned. And let's create a head. Okay, modify, convert to symbol. Perfect, boom. Again, center point kind of aligned here. Free transform, double click the center point, and we have a nice little head. Perfect, that's good for now. So here's our character. While we're at it, why don't we give him a tail? Nothing fancy. Boom. Okay, so now all we need to do is, again, just like we did before with the previous rig, we're going to select all of the symbols and tell it to be made adaptable by clicking this button down here. And again, this panel will open up. Just click OK. And now we want to grab the freestyle rigging tool. Let's start with the torso, and let's go to this leg, and then down to that bottom leg. Same thing here. Again, starting at the torso, as that is the root of it all. Torso to the tail, torso to the neck, neck to the head. Perfect. Now we can hit G, or simply click on the Kineflex SMR tool, and now you can actually start seeing the rig come to life. So now what I want to show you is how to add IK effectors. These are really cool. So I'm going to select, for this character, the last child in the armature, and click IK effector. And so now you'll see another pop-up telling you that it's created an SMR controllers layer that the IK effector was placed in. So here, if we go to the timeline, you'll see a new layer has been created, SMR controllers, and there you go. And the IK effector has been placed down here at the bottom. I'm going to repeat this procedure for the other leg, the back leg, and the other back leg. Now, with IK effectors, watch what happens. If I grab the Kineflex tool, start to move him around, you'll see how those start working and how the armature reacts to the IK effectors. This is just me using this tool, but if I hold down Shift while using this tool, I can start dragging around from the root bone like this. And it's just wonderfully fun to start manipulating your character and posing your character with IK effectors attached to them. All right, so now if we want to start animating something really quickly, let's grab all the symbols only. I'm going to right click over them, say distribute to layers. And then let's give ourselves about a second of timeline time. Let's insert some frames out to about 1 second. Okay, so now let's actually pose him the way we want him. I'm going to hit G on the keyboard, which is the shortcut for the Kineflex tool. And let's give him a little bit of a pose. If we hold down Shift again, we can make him a little bit taller, have him stand up a bit. And, okay, perfect. That works. Let's create more keyframes here on frame 5. This is where maybe we'll have him start to walk or something. Go a few more keyframes down. Select a range of frames across all those layers. Hit the Create Keyframe button. And from here now, we can maybe start to pose him. I'm going to hold down Shift and move him forward a little bit. Have him take a step. And we can just check our work. Yeah. And then let's go a little bit further down. Same thing, create some keyframes. Holding down Shift. And now I'm going to click and drag and create this highlighted region across all these layers, and simply hit the Create Classic Tween. And now look how fast and easy that was. It's not perfect. You can always go back in and tweak stuff. But again, the power of this plugin, right? How fun is that? Okay, so now these are just the last two examples. These are just really basic, simple rigs, right? Nothing really crazy about it. So this character, right, you'll see all these circles. right? And you'll see also if you watch some of Nick's tutorials, he shows you this exact process of designing with circles in mind where limbs connect, right? So for instance, let's go quickly to the ears. You can see where no matter how I rotate the ears, they're not going to break. There's not going to be any kind of unsightly gap that's going to get created as you rotate in 360 degrees. It's all pretty much because I've created inside of the symbol of the ear just another sphere or circle or oval with just an outline, and it's on its own layer. And it's centered to the registration point. Now the artwork, when I lock the layer, I've created the artwork so that it follows this as a guide. Okay. Now if I do that to the other ear, as you see here, right, and then convert to outlines, and you can align the circles so that they overlap each other. Now you know when you rotate things, let's convert everything to outlines. Whoop. You can see how I've done it with the all the body parts as well. So when I rotate the arm, again, it's going to work. Again, it's also based on the fact that this is designed in a way to support this technique. Now you're probably thinking, well, I don't want the circles to show up in my final output, right? So what I do once I have everything aligned and working and rotating and everything looks good, I just go to that layer. I can delete it or I can just guide it out, and then it just disappears. Okay, so all of these layers, just make sure when you're done to guide it out. Even in the hands, guide it out. And let's just make sure. Yep, that's guided out. That should disappear. Yep, it did. Perfect. Let's go up to the ears. Let's make sure these are guided out as well. All right, since the egg is not going to get rigged, I'm just going to move it to a layer below everything else and just lock it. Okay, so now to rig this character. I'm going to select everything. We don't want the shadow, so let's lock that as well. Let's just select everything, and just like we did before with the other two examples, click on Make Adaptable. The Make Adaptable pop-up window appears. Click OK. 18 elements have been affected. Awesome. Now what I can do is go through the joy of freestyle rigging. I'm going to start with the torso, and I'm going to click and drag to this arm, and then from that arm to the forearm, and from this forearm to the hand. Go back to the torso, click on the upper arm or bicep, from there to the forearm, from here to the hand. From the body or the torso again, the upper leg, lower leg, foot. Torso, upper leg, lower leg, foot. Torso, head. Head to this ear, and then the child of that ear. Head to that ear, then the child of that ear. Let's test it. Yep, everything is working great. So let's add IK effectors. And for this character, I'm going to select the second to last child, which is the lower leg. I'm going to click on IK effector. And the pop-up tells us it created a layer called SMR controllers. And repeat the procedure for the other leg. And let's go add IK effectors for the arms as well. So again, the second to last child in this relationship, which is the forearm, select it, click IK effector. And for this arm as well, repeat that process. Now, things have just gotten a lot more interesting because now we can control our character holding down Shift, and you can see the IK effectors at work. So notice now that the legs actually aren't bending the way you want them to. If you click on the effector and go here to Effector Properties, it'll pop up the IK Effectors Properties window. And what you want to do is reverse the direction of the IK effector by just clicking this box here and click OK. Now the leg will bend the way it should, the way you intended it to, if you grab and pose by using the effector itself. We want to do the same for this effector. So again, back to Effector Properties. And I'm going to select clockwise and click OK. This arm works correctly, as does this arm. And now I have my rigged character. But yeah, you can just start creating keyframes. And start posing. Okay, so now one more thing I want to show you is just how in-depth or advanced you can get with this extension and rigging up your characters. So I have a character here. Believe it or not, it's one rig, but two different characters. I'll quickly show you when I double click inside here and show you the timeline. If I go to, let's say, the head, I have two different layer folders. One is a male head and the other is a female head. And all I do to select whichever one I want is to right click over the layer folder and select a guide if I don't want, let's say in this case, the Frank head, and unguide the Francesca head. And for the body, I do the same thing. Frank's torso we don't want, but Francesca's torso we do. So I guide out Frank's torso, I unguide out Francesca's torso, and you'll see now she's gone from male to female. Because both characters share the same arms and legs and pelvis, okay? But what's really cool about this, if I double click the torso, I have animations in here, okay, of the torso turning in space. If I zoom in a little bit on this, you'll also see something rather interesting. These are our magnet targets. So how the rigs work, right? Inside the shoulder are center markers, and there's metadata that's connecting it to the parent symbol, specifically the magnet target that's in the parent symbol. You can actually animate magnet targets. If they're on their own layer and you can tween them, you can actually animate them. And so you'll notice that this magnet target moves from left to right as the body turns. And this magnet target, that's connecting this arm, moves from right to left. What this allows me to do, though, is, let's have it stop there. If I press the tilde key, it'll snap the arms to the nested magnet targets, right? So now all of a sudden, what this allows me to do is simulate foreshortening. So you can kind of see the power of this extension using, again, all the basic principles of Animate and symbols and classic tweens and easing, right? But now, since everything is rigged up and these limbs are all talking to each other via metadata and magnet targets, I can actually animate magnet targets to simulate foreshortening in some situations, which is amazingly cool. You know, the idea is to have fun ultimately, and this tool really provides that. It really does. It's responsive. It feels pretty nimble. There's nothing laggy about it. Yeah, everything about it just, it's literally everything I think we've always ever wanted inside of Animate. And I can't recommend it enough. I'm excited about it. I hope you get excited about it as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the comments below or reach out to the Flash Powertools team. They've been at this for over a decade, so they're not going away anytime soon. So yeah, this is exciting. I think everything we've ever wanted inside of Adobe Animate. So until next time, I hope this helps. See ya. Boing. Okay, I'll stop.